To that moment in court making global headlines tonight, a convicted war criminal suddenly drinking poison and then shouting a message to the judge.
However, there are times when the situation takes an unexpected turn and the inmates find themselves in the spotlight of their courtroom drama. Here are two convicts who were killed in court. Number 1, number David Paradiso. David Paradiso's unfortunate path was even worse when he became involved in a judicial saga. It's a fascinating story of courtroom turmoil and violence that began with his arrest in December 2006 for a heinous crime, the suspected demise of his girlfriend Eileen Pelt. Their relationship had just lasted for a few weeks when a tragedy occurred in the backseat of a car driven by Deborah Paradiso's mother. Deborah later claimed that she had not heard the couple argue until that fatal day. However, in an odd act, David fatally stabbed his lover in the neck, stating that if he did not act first, she would take his life. The events that followed were even more confusing. Undaunted by the seriousness of his crime, Paradiso compelled his mother to drive him from Loy, California, to a place 15 miles distant in Amador County, where he disposed of Eileen's lifeless body along a road. Those who learned of these deeds were astounded by their callousness. To explain the unexplained, Paradiso's defense team claimed that he was under the effect of methamphetamine during this encounter. He was captured and charged with the crime. Nevertheless, however, during his trial in 2009, the narrative took an even more bizarre turn. It is critical to establish context prior to this trial. David's mother, Deborah Paradiso, had been profoundly concerned about her son's mental health. In the weeks leading up to the court hearings, she noticed indicators of a potential collapse in him, such as a sense of sorrow in his eyes. Furthermore, she suspected he held a firearm, which she reported to authorities. A search of his holding cell turned up no evidence of a weapon, so her suspicions were dismissed. Deborah Paradiso later claimed that her dismissal contributed to the catastrophic events that followed. David Paradiso testified about the death of his girlfriend during his trial in March 2009. He did, however, give a different story than his prior statements, discarding his argument that he acted in fear for his life. He stated this time that he took Eileen's life because he thought she deserved not to live. This dramatic shift in his story was both intriguing and concerning. A pause was ordered during this critical trial presided over by San Juan County Superior Court Judge Cinda Fox. After Deborah David's mother left the courtroom in tears, she had spoken out against her son, taking the stand, expressing worries about his mental health. This outburst caused a hiccup in the proceedings. During this little respite, David Paradiso made his move. He came up behind Judge Fox and attacked Fox with an unidentifiable, sharp weapon. He stabbed the judge numerous times and attacked her physically as well. Several courtroom visitors attempted to intercede, but it was Lloyd Detective Eric Bradley who grabbed his gun and shot Paradiso. Despite her injuries, Judge Fox was successfully evacuated from the courtroom on a stretcher and recovered well. David Paradiso passed away as a result of the gunshot wounds he sustained during the event. This unexpected turn of events left a path of destruction in its wake. David's family, particularly his mother Deborah and brother Aaron Paradiso, were overcome with sadness and stated their conviction that the tragedy may have been avoided if law officials had handled his declining mental health differently. Aaron said that his brother suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, a confirmed and well-known illness. He contended that David should not have been called to the stand in his current mental state. Number 2, Klaus Grabowski. Klaus Grabowski, his story began in Germany, where police identified him as a repeat criminal. Subsequently, he was arrested for strangling a child and was sentenced to probation. One may have thought that this close call would teach Grabowski a lesson, but his malevolent tendencies remained. A few years later, he was arrested again for crimes related to children. While Grabowski first received light treatment in court, the authorities were not as merciful. This time, Grabowski was on the verge of committing his most heinous act, setting the stage for a memorable courtroom brawl. Marianne Bach, born on June 3, 1950, was the pivotal person in this horrific story. Her upbringing in West Germany was difficult, with a violent father and a mother who abandoned her when she was a teenager. She became a mother at the age of 16, having to give up her first kid for adoption. At the age of 18, she had another kid whom she had to give up after being attacked just before giving birth on November 14, 1972. Marianne gave birth to her third and final child. A beautiful girl called Anna Marianne was raising Anna on her own, so she worked as a waitress to make ends meet their lives, however remained unsettled. Marianne's long hours at the bar kept her away from Anna, and several of her acquaintances saw that Anna frequently looked after herself, even sleeping at the bar where her mother worked. The sad sequence of events began on May 5, 1980, when Marianne and Anna got into a violent disagreement before Anna left for school. The 7-year-old, who was heartbroken and upset, opted not to go to school that day. Klaus Grabowski, a neighbor from their apartment complex, offered her the opportunity to play with his cats in his apartment, while she departed. Claiming to go to school once Anna was at Grabowski's apartment, he assaulted her for hours. Surprisingly, he then strangled her with his fiancée's tights, brutally ending her young life. Grabowski did not escape punishment. When his fiancée found the heinous reality, she promptly called the cops. When officials arrived at the canal's edge, they discovered Anna's lifeless body and quickly caught Grabowski on March 3, 1981. The trial began with Grabowski seeking to shift guilt onto the little child he had violently stolen from the world. He said money and threatened to expose him if he did not cooperate. He depicted himself as the victim in his twisted story. This terrible show of victim blaming enraged Marianne, who had already been through unbearable suffering. She made the decision to take affairs into her own hands. Marianne carried out her task on March 6, 1981, at an apparently normal court session. Her clothing concealed a .22 caliber Beretta pistol. She responded quickly when she saw Grabowski in the courtroom and fired 7 rounds at him. 6 of the bullets were successful, culminating in Grabowski's demise. A video of the shooting revealed Marianne's determined manner, expressing no emotion. Even when others interfered to detain her, she exhibited no regret. Marianne received a 6-year jail term for manslaughter, of which she served just 3. She passed away due to pancreatic cancer in 1996 and was buried next to her adored daughter, Anna.